I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I went through ABA therapy at my last placement, and it was horrible. They used electric skin shock, food deprivation. They withheld basic social interaction and compassion. They took away my connections with my family, and they seemed to really try to erase the person that I was by punishing me by the way I moved or spoke. It was a horrible experience. I still suffer from this day from nightmares from that experience. So naturally, my view on ABA was always a very negative one, and I felt like it was something that was abusive and even dangerous. But then I started to hear other testimonies from people and see that maybe ABA wasn't always a horrible thing. I mean, in life, you need to keep an open mind. You can't, just because you had a particular experience with something, say that it's all bad. I really try to keep an open mind with things, because I feel like that's the only way you're going to learn and grow and understand people. You don't want to just sit, or I don't want to just sit in an echo chamber of people who affirm everything I say and believe and never be challenged or think another way to consider someone else's truth or experience. Because everybody has different experiences and everybody's reality is different. So I was watching a video that actually came out yesterday from Fathering Autism about his daughter Abby's experience with ABA. Now, I believe that the ABA she does is very different than the kind of ABA I went through. He's reported in his video that ABA has really helped Abby be able to handle certain situations in life where she normally wouldn't be able to participate in things, like going to the store, going to, let's say, a hockey game or a place where there's a lot of people. I witnessed this firsthand when I went to Playlist Live and met Fathering Autism. I met Asa and Priscilla, Isaiah, and Abby handled Playlist Live like a champ. I mean, it was really hard in there. It was really loud. There was a lot of random screaming and people just everywhere. And it was a chaotic environment. And I think it was hard for people, even if you didn't have autism, to be in that environment. But I know for me, it was hard with the noise. But lately, I've been pushing myself to try new things and go places that might be noisy or have a lot of people, or that I would be uncomfortable. And by pushing myself, I've been getting used to those situations, and I'm missing out on a lot less. And that's what Asa reported for Abby, that she is not missing out on so many things anymore, and she's able to be with her family because she did ABA, and that helped her to be able to tolerate those situations and actually enjoy them as well. So this affirmed my belief that you shouldn't always just go off of what you've experienced and have your mindset so much in one direction. I believe that's for a lot of things in life, that it's good to have an open mind. You can still maintain your values and your morals. You don't have to undo your values in order to keep an open mind. But it's always a good idea to try to see things in another way, even though that can be very hard, especially if you've been through an experience and had a bad experience of something, and someone else is saying they had a good experience of something. I use the example of, let's say, medication, especially like medication for depression. Some people will take a one medication and they'll have great effects. Their depression will be better and they'll feel so much better in life. And then other people can take the same medication and have a horrible reaction, maybe even feel more depressed and just have a terrible experience. Does that mean that the person it helped should have to get off that medication or not take it because the other person had a bad experience? Or take, for example, a medication for a physical ailment. Some medications will help cure some people's ailments and it won't cure another person. And people have two different experiences. And it doesn't mean the person they cured shouldn't have a chance to take that medication or shouldn't be allowed if they choose to try that medication. And I think as long as the risks aren't, way higher than the benefits, that people should have the opportunity and the freedom to make choices for themselves and for their family members. I think sometimes people get caught up on one thing, and since everybody's saying it, they just want to keep repeating that thing and passing along that thing. And I myself hated ABA. I don't even know if I've made earlier videos about it or wrote about it, how bad it was for me. And it was bad for me, and it will always have been bad for me. But that doesn't mean that for someone else it can't help. It doesn't mean it's abusive for somebody else, especially if it was a whole different situation. I mean, Abby is not in the same place I was. She's not at that place. She is at home with her family, and her family loves her. And, I believe that things can be helpful for people that necessarily don't help someone else, or were even a bad experience for someone else. So watching that video, I'm really glad that Asa made that video to explain how much ABA has helped Abby. And I'm of the thought of keeping an open mind. So my feelings about ABA were pretty negative. And I would say they kind of still are because of what I went through. But at the same time, I don't believe that it's always bad. And I believe there are out there other experiences and other truths that are just as valid as my experience and my truth. Because I went through something doesn't mean the other person is going through the same thing I went through. So Abby has a whole other truth and experience that's just as valid as my experience. So even though I can say for me ABA was a negative thing, that doesn't mean it is a negative thing. I think most things in life can be used for good or for bad. So you can't say that something is always all bad just because it can be used for bad. And that's my feelings on ABA. I hope this was helpful for people who are maybe confused about ABA for themselves or someone they love. I think that you have to just keep an eye on making sure it's not hurting a person or making them suffer inside. And I do believe a person should be allowed to be the person they are and not try to erase that person. But if something is helpful like ABA, I don't think it's always a bad thing. And that's just how I feel. And I wanted to explain that in the video because I know a lot of people are discussing that right now. And I wanted to put my point of view in, especially since I've had experience with it. So I feel like I do have a voice in it because I've had an experience with it. Yeah. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Why don't you check out another video? It'll be worth it. I almost promise. This is Rebranding Autism. Okay, bye.